Today we're going to make a collage inspired by the art in the book The Tiny Seed by Eric Carle. The tiny seed grows up to be a big flower. So for my first collage I did a really tall flower almost up to the sun. So our one for today, you can use either construction paper, you can use copy paper. Today I'm going to use a newspaper as my background. You can really use any paper that you have for your background. I'm also going to be using papers that I'm finished with, like the insides of old bills or pages from magazines or pages from newspapers or advertisements to find my colors and all of the different shapes I'll be cutting out. I'm going to start by finding something that looks like it could be grass. So I'll look around, and I went ahead and tore some of these out of a magazine. Now I think even though these were trees in the original picture, they would make really nice grass along the bottom of my page. Now you can draw this first with your pencil if you want to, or you can just cut it out. When you're cutting, I'm going to try to cut away from your body, and you'll hold the scissors in the same hand that you draw and write with. And the other hand is kind of like your steering wheel. It moves your paper around where you need it to go. And your cutting hand pretty much stays in one place. All right, so that might be a little bit of grass. I'm going to cut across this page and get some more. So again, I'm just going to make short diagonal lines, kind of like a long zigzaggy line, and get some grass. Now I can always trim this to make it shorter, but I'll go ahead and keep everything I have for right now, so I'll be sure that I have enough. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way, and my flower is going to need a stem. So I thought this page had a nice long green strip, and I don't have to use the whole thing, but I'm going to cut sort of a long rectangle shape. Now if you want to draw this on your paper first, that might make it easier for you to cut. All right, so now we need to talk about our flower. So I'm going to use something to help me trace some circles. I found this little jar of spices, and I thought this was a good circle size. You could also use something like a glue stick or a quarter if you wanted smaller circles. If you wanted an oval, you could trace around the bottom of a glue bottle or around maybe a thing of honey. Look around your house to see what things you have that might help you make better geometric shapes. Now geometric shapes are more like shapes that we talk about in math. Circles, squares, rectangles, triangles, that sort of thing. Those are all geometric shapes. All right, so I started cutting a couple of these out, but I want to show you how I'm going to cut the rest. I love this piece, and I thought this would make really cool flower petals. I'm going to use a marker just so that you can see it better, but you could use a pencil or a crayon. I'm just going to put this where I want it, hold it down with the hand that I don't write with, and trace around it with the hand I do write with. And I think I could make a few different petals out of this one picture. So I'm going to trace a couple of those. Maybe one more right there. Hold it down with the hand you don't write with and trace around it with your writing hand. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way. I got 3 petals out of that one page. I probably could have gotten more if I wanted to, but I want a little variety. And variety just means that they're not all exactly the same. Now again, I'm letting the hand that I write and draw with stay kind of still, and the hand that I don't write with is kind of my steering wheel. Okay, so there's a petal. I know watching me cut is not super exciting, so I am going to speed the video along as I continue to find pictures that I want to use to make petals for my flower. I have a few already, but I'm going to look at this picture, and I really like the colors in this area, so I'm going to trace again and make my circle. I'm going to cut that one out, And I already cut out one that I thought would be a good center for my flower. It's actually an egg. And I'm going to place those above my stem just to be sure that I have the right number of petals. I think 4 or 5 will be enough, but just kind of lay them out to be sure. And if you need more, you could always cut a few more. I also found more green pictures to make leaves with. So to make your leaf shape, you're going to draw kind of a rainbow shape and then an upside down rainbow shape and make them connect at the points. It's kind of like a smiley face and a frowny face that meet together, and then cut those out as many leaves as you think that your plant needs. I also am going to make some clouds. I thought this would make a really nice fluffy cloud. So I'm going to make curvy C-shaped lines, or kind of rainbow-shaped lines, until they go all the way around into a cloud shape. Now when you cut this out, it's a little bit more difficult because you have so many curves to work around, but take your time. You can make a really pretty cloud if you'll just cut along the lines that you drew. That one was made out of whipped cream, and this one is more like tile. And I'm going to draw another cloud and cut this one out. I think this one looks a little bit darker, almost like a rain cloud. I found several kind of yellowy or orangey strips that I cut from magazines that could be our sun's rays, and I need a center for my sun. So I could either use something like this, or I found this egg. I could always just cut out the egg to be my sun, but since I used an egg here, I might cut out this part right here. So again, I'm gonna put this, I'm using the same circle for everything. If you wanted different sizes of circles on your art, you could certainly find multiple sizes of circles to trace, or add in ovals or triangles or whatever other shapes you want to use. I'm cutting out the center of the sun, and I'm going to place it where I think it should go in the background. I'm also going to take the strips I cut earlier that are kind of yellowy and place those around the sun just to get an idea of how I want them to be on the page and to be sure that I have enough. I am going to glue these on. If you don't have glue, you could always just put them in place and take a picture of it. You could move them around almost like a puzzle and reposition things. When you're gluing, it works best to put the glue on the pieces of the collage instead of trying to put them on your background. If you put the glue on your background, you're likely to get a big gluey mess. And so we want to avoid the gluey mess by putting the glue on our collage pieces. I am going to put my stem into place and put some glue on it. I think my stem might be a little bit long, so I'm just going to trim off the part that I don't want to use. I'm going to take the center of my flower, and I'm not putting glue all the way to the edges of that center because I'm going to take my petals and stick them just underneath the center of the flower. Your petals could go on top of the center of your flower or right next to the center of your flower. It doesn't have to be exactly like mine, but that's how I wanted mine to look. So I'm going to kind of tuck them under that center just a little bit. Now for my leaves, I'm just going to place them wherever I think that they look best. If you ended up cutting more leaves than you need, you don't have to use all of your leaves. But I think I'm going to put this third leaf on right here. Now for the sun, I'm also going to try to put the glue more in the center of the sun, the center of the sun, if that makes sense. And then I'm going to glue my sun's rays around it. And I'm going to tuck the ends of the sun's rays underneath the circle center. Your sun's rays can go on top of the center, or they could stick out a little bit from the center and leave a space. However you want to lay those out is fine with me. As long as you are pleased with how it looks and you think that everything is laid out well, you didn't cram everything into one corner, you space things out nicely, then you will have a good composition. In art, a good composition just means that when you look at something, it looks good to your eye. I'm going to put the last of the sun's rays on, and then I'm going to add my clouds. so I have gotten everything glued on. It's best if you let it dry, but if you finish and you have any edges that are hanging over, just turn it over. And trim off anything that's bigger than your background. So when you finish, you will have a beautiful collage with a tall flower. You can add sun, clouds, you could add more than one flower. This is our grass. If you would rather, you could always put it on a piece of copy paper or on a piece of construction paper, just whatever you have at home. I can't wait to see your tiny seed collages.